Hey, I don't remember. I don't remember what grade it was in. Probably seventh, but it was seventh grade was like band. Like that's where you learn how to be in band, I think. And I remember we all started off with the dreaded plastic recorder. If you're a parent, you probably hated the day that your kid came home with the dreaded plastic recorder. So everyone starts off. Excuse me. Everyone starts off in the same way. We all started off with that dreaded plastic recorder, and we learned the notes, and we sat in the different chairs, and if we were good at it, we moved up in the chairs, and if we were bad at it, we moved down in the chairs. And that was the plastic recorder is kind of the most basic of things, because it determines, like, do you have I guess probably first off, like, do you have any musical ability at all? Which in my case is, the answer is no. It determines musical ability, but it also helps determine, do you have the necessary skills for discipline to stick with an instrument, to learn what all of the different notes are, and to keep time and learn how to read music, and all of these things. Because most people, there are a few of these weird people. Most people don't just pick up the guitar or the bass or the clarinet or the tuba. They don't just pick up that instrument and start playing it because they don't. Most people don't have the skills necessary to know how to do that, to just know how to read music, to know how to keep time. So the dreaded plastic flute is the equalizer. The dreaded plastic flute is the simple way to begin teaching basic skills, so that when it comes time for you to pick your actual instrument that you're going to play, you have what you need in being able to do that. Yesterday, we talked about Daniel chapter 6, and we talked about Daniel in the lion's den. And we also talked about the way that Daniel had done all sorts of things in his life to prepare him for that lion's den moment. The book of Daniel did not start with Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel chapter 1 did not start with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego going into the fiery furnace. Daniel chapter 1 began with Nebuchadnezzar taking God's people from Jerusalem back to Babylon and immersing them in hardship, taking them away from everything they had ever known and immersing them in hardship. And then Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, over time, had to develop the skills necessary. They had to access the gifts that God had given them. They had to develop the skills necessary to be a kind of people who, when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were confronted with worshiping the statue or not, they were prepared and they were ready to do that. When Daniel was confronted with not praying to anyone but Darius the Mede in chapter 6, he was ready for it. He was prepared for it. So what kinds of things goes into developing a mindset and a discipline and an orientation of your heart to be ready to do the hard thing? Well, for Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that all started back in Daniel chapter 1, verse 8. And it just says this: "But Daniel was determined not to defile himself by eating the food and wine given to them by the king." So as we talked back in Daniel chapter 1, as we talked yesterday, because Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego knew the scriptures, they knew what they were allowed to eat, what they weren't allowed to eat. This allowed them to develop the discipline, as I said, quoting my friend Luke Simmons, allowing them to develop the soft hearts and the steel spine necessary to be a people who were ready to take on the hardship and the challenge of being in exile in Babylon for 70 years. What I would love for you to do today is look for one small way that you can be faithful to God, that you can begin developing that skill of being ready for what God has for you. It'll be a little thing. It won't seem like it's very important. It won't seem like it matters. but it will matter because it's going to shape you into the person that God is calling you to be. That's what I'm praying for you today. I love you, and I'm praying with and for you today, and I look forward to spending this week with you talking about Daniel chapter 6. Have a super rest of your day.